Um, it is also possible to use other procedural shaders to do bump mapping. You're not constrained to these shaders here to do procedural bump. Sometimes what the user wants or need is actually bumping the surface without actually affecting the color. So if you, for example, you're using a cloud and you do connect the cloud right here, let's say on ambient and diffuse, then the cloud contributes to the ambient and diffuse and also to the bump map. Sometimes it is needed just to take the cloud and bump the surface without affecting the ambience and diffuse. And the way to do this is by using what we call a bump tree. So we'll go here and actually use the bump generator. But instead of actually using the image clip here, we'll be using procedural shaders. So as explained in the previous sessions, the bump map generator will take the texture coordinate that is actually defined right here, and we'll actually extract it and give it to this shader. Well, in this case it's an image node, so mentally we'll take this information from the state and evaluate and look up a pixel inside the actual image. Now when it comes to procedural shaders, it is possible actually to use the state shader vector and actually go and set it to texture vector. Now we have the options to actually extract the UV information that this shader will be putting in the state, and this shader takes the state and just extract this information directly from the state. Now what we need is a procedural shaders, so I can go to texture generator and pick cloud. Now if I connect this thing to coord, which is coordinate, as the input, I will be able to actually use the cloud to derive the bump map. Now as you can see, the blue dot means that the input is a image clip connection, but in fact it is there's an option. Mentally understand that a texture map is also a shader that can output a color, so it is the same thing. So you could use procedural shaders under this menu right here. Any shaders that output color you will be able to connect over there. If you want to use scalar, you may need to go and under the conversion and use the scalar to color to actually allow the connection to happen. So now if I connect this thing to input, now I don't need anymore the no icon pick or the texture, and I can start to actually shade the surface. Now as you can see, this material, leather material, is part of the material library. It is also assigned to the other piece here, which is also is a leather piece. And what we need to do is create what we call spatial texture projection. So as you can see, none of those currently have texture projection. So what we need to do is create this new spatial texture projection. So that creates continuous texture projections over the both object, and we'll be using that as a way to create this bumpy surface that ladder needs to have in order to create something realistic. Now since we have created this spatial texture projection, if I do a render region right here, and as you can see, I'm starting to pick up some of the bump map, but let's force it to be really high. Now I need to remove the clamp. Clamp means that whenever the UV space being extracted by these shaders on the object exceeds 0.1, it will basically just prevent the bump map to occur. So that is actually perfect if you want to stamp an image or a logo and you just want the bump map to be within the image. But in case of procedural shader, you need to remove the clamp option or clip option. So as you can see, it's a little bit too strong. So we'll start to increase it slightly like this until we have some sort of bumpy surface right here. Now, as I said previously, I can actually adjust a little bit the bump step in order to pick up some of the details right here. So this is one way actually to create to create bump using procedural shader, it is possible actually you may need to layer multiple bump generator or procedural bump over an object. There's actually two ways. You can actually blend the result of two procedural shaders and mix them and then put it connected to the bump generator, or take two bump generator and blend them and basically add the result. So let's go over the first one. I'll be taking, for example, a texture generator, and I'll be taking something like all these ones here are considered to be 2D texture generation, and these ones are more like 3D. So let's go over snow, turbulence, vane. Vane should be pretty interesting actually. So let me just get a conversion shader, scalar to color, and we'll connect this one right here, and we'll connect this one to input. Now obviously I don't get any bump because the state shader is not connected to the texture. As you can see, I'm starting to pick up some of the details. So I'll go to bump generator here and start to increase the density of the actual. So I can start to see some of the actual bump map. To avoid, especially if you're going to blend two textures, it is possible that this one may need a certain density and this one may need a different density. So we'll just leave this one to 0, 0, 0. And actually we will start to blend these two together. So let's go over mix 8 color, and the reason why I'm using mix 8 color is because I will have a choice of two base color input. So I'll be using this one for color 1, this one for color 2, and the base color will be set to 0 because I don't want the base color to influence the actual result. So we'll be doing some sort like mix, for example, and I'm going to activate the second layer also for mix. And now what I can do here is connect this one directly to input, and now what I will get is both effect being added up to the bump. So I'll go here and actually increase the bump so I can see a little bit more. So you can see that the bump map for the cloud here and the vane is here, so you can see that it start to layer up pretty easily. I will actually do an add compensate, well in this case probably add and another add. So this way I can really start to layer things clearly and see the effect of one and the other quite well. Now I've layered two procedural shaders to do bump map. Now it is possible that the vane requires a little bit more density. So what we'll do is go under texture space controller and select the texture edit, and we'll connect the texture edit directly in between the texture, the vector state, and the coordinate. The texture has the option to increase the actual density of the other texture. Now you can see that I'm increasing the vane texture density just by adding this shader. So even though this shader forces a certain UV, I can start to control things by adding this particular texture edit shaders to control the actual look. Now I may need to go to 50, for example, because I still want to have some sort of lines to show up. So more like 10, for example. That sounds to be pretty good now. The bump is a little bit too strong here, so it is possible to adjust it by going back here and reduce the actual bump here, the effect. So now I can actually really control well the bump for every procedural shaders and really fine-tune to make the look very perfect and adjusted to your needs. So this is a good example of how to blend two procedural shaders. I invite you to watch the next session which will show you a different approach of blending a bump using two bump generators. Thank you.